Okay, thanks everybody for joining this Google Hangout. Just some brief information about what we're doing today. This presentation formed part of a Google showcase that we did at Dowson Primary School a couple of months ago. We actually did two showcases, and the idea of the showcases was to introduce cloud computing and Google Apps for Education to primary schools, and they were quite successful. Part of those showcases was to also have a live demonstration of Google Apps, and that's exactly what we did. So that was the idea of this presentation, and this presentation opened the showcase. Okay, just a quick introduction. My name is John Goodyear. I'm a level 2 Google certified educator. I've used Google Apps for about 10 years and been using it in education for about the last 4.5 to 5 years, and on the whole it's been quite successful. Right, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kill my webcam so you can see the full screen and just get rid of the tools there, and we'll carry on with the presentation. Okay, so where do we start? The problem is where do we start explaining cloud computing to students and to schools as well? Well, we could start over here. We could start with these servers, a rack of servers and some padlocks connecting to different devices. But to be honest with you, that's far too complicated. We could start over here. This is where we want to end up, to be honest with you, because this is what we're aiming for. But at the moment, we can just keep it really, really simple. And when I first stand up in front of a class, or if I'm doing an inset day, the first question I will ask is, who's heard of Google? Now, if you're standing up in front of a class of, say, year 4, 5 or 6, then everybody's hand's going to go up because everybody's heard of Google. And you say to people, well, you've all heard of Google. What does Google actually do? What do Google do? And the hands go back up again, and you always get the same answer. And the answer is quite simple. Well, you can find things on the internet, and that's right. Google are best known for being a search provider. So if you want to find something on the internet, well, you Google it. Everybody knows that. Then ask the question, well, what else do Google do? What else do they actually do? They don't just do search on the internet, do they? And they think for a while, and children put their hands up and they say, they do maps. Yeah, that's right, Google Maps. Google also do maps. What else do they do? And they say, translate. Translate normally comes back. Yeah, that's right, you can use Google to translate things from one language to another one. But what else do they actually do? And of course, as adults, we actually know that Google are a very innovative and very progressive company with the fingers in lots of different pies, and they're moving technology forward all the time. But as far as we're concerned in education, we're not that concerned with some of the other things Google are doing. And it's quite surprising how little people know about other Google products. For example, I say to children, you've heard of YouTube, haven't you? And yeah, all the hands go up. Well, that's a Google product. Android. Yeah, they've all heard of Android. That's a Google product. Tour Builder, which is a fantastic way of building interactive maps with your students. Again, that's another Google product. Google Chrome, Google Search and Blogger. These are all Google products, and of course Google Earth, products that perhaps we use in schools. These are all Google products, but the product we're primarily interested in today is this one. Is G Suite for Education. Now, G Suite for Education, formerly known as Google Apps for Education, is a system I've used for quite a long time now, and it's tools that your entire school can use together. And we get word processing, spreadsheets, slides, Google Sites. Students get email, and of course, fantastic Google Classroom as well. And we talk about a suite of cloud-based applications that you can access from anywhere. I always stop then, and I always say to children, a suite of cloud-based applications. What does that actually mean? What does cloud-based actually mean? And then we spend about maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes explaining to children exactly what cloud-based means. We talk about Web 2 and we talk about the difference between how they've been working in the past, how they're working now, and how they'll be working in the future, in particularly the way they access data and information across different devices. And you know something, children understand that. I've had no problem explaining to children about cloud-based applications and working in the cloud. They seem to get it. But for the purpose of this presentation, what we need to do is we need to look at where we are now. We need to look at school IT now and where we want to get to. Of course, school IT, always moving on, always moving up. And over the years, we have moved up and we have moved on. We've upgraded our servers, bigger and better servers, different operating systems. As Microsoft have upgraded their operating systems, we've moved along with that. And of course, we've got bigger and faster computers. Might not be bigger on the desk, but they're certainly bigger processors, faster processors, more memory, better hard disk space, and perhaps you've added some really nice monitors, 21.5-inch monitors, to give students a really good experience of using different software and different applications. We've added managed wireless. Schools are full of wireless now, and it's needed. So that's another thing that's moved school IT on and up. And as time has gone on, we've replaced all those desktop printers with multifunction printers. We're now printing to photocopiers, which also scan, print and copy. It's saved schools a fortune. And we've got fast internet. That's another thing that's come along over the years. Internet speed's gradually gone up, and for most schools, I know, certainly for a school I worked in, it took a long time to arrive, but it did arrive in the end. The internet is not too bad now. And it certainly makes accessing almost anything, videos or web pages on the internet, a much smoother ride. And the other big thing that happened to school IT as it moved on and up was the introduction of tablets. Now, tablets were a major change in the way schools work. And we'll come to this more detail later on. But for the very, very first time, schools realised they could work in a totally different way. For the very first time, they shoved aside what they've been used to working with. That's a computer, a PC, and the operating system as well. Will that be Microsoft Windows and the tools they've used on Windows, like particularly Microsoft Office. Just moved it to one side and used something completely different. That was a major step forward in the way schools work. But the problem is, of course, is that for most schools, the way we actually use IT, it's not changed at all. School IT went in about, networks first appeared about mid-90s, 93, 90, 94, something like that. Schools started to have networks. And to be honest with you, the way we use school IT has not really changed at all. And here's why. The problem with school networks is they're insular. They're within the building. And I'm not knocking schools IT, don't get me wrong. I mean, worked in school IT for a long time as a server and network manager, so I'm not knocking the way school IT works, but it has its limitations. And the problem with it is it's locked within the four walls of the building. And generally, what work you do stays in the school. So if you produce a document, you produce some work, and you save it on the school server, it's very difficult to access that work. It's on there. Unless you've obviously got a VPN or some way of accessing the server remotely. What that produces a mass use of pen drives or email attachments. So if staff want to work on documents that are saved on the server, they need to work on those documents at home, then generally, I would imagine in most schools, and I know this is a general view of perhaps the way school IT is, it might not be the same for your school, but generally, there's a mass use of pen drives. So staff will copy whatever documents they need to work on onto a pen drive and take it home. The problem with that is obviously one of security. You don't know what they're copying onto the pen drive. You don't know whether it's sensitive information, it contains information that's confidential. You don't know whether the pen drive's encrypted. In fact, you've got no idea what's on that pen drive, and of course there's always a chance it could be lost. The other issue is, of course, is you take the pen drive home and you plug it into a computer which you've got no control over. So anyone could have been using that computer. It could have been on any number of dodgy sites. You plug it in and you don't know what's being copied to the pen drive to be copied to your network next time the pen drive's plugged into a computer. So there is an issue in doing that. We know it goes on, and to be honest with you, it's the easiest way of doing things. The other issue with that, of course, is that if you need to work on some sort of document, say it's a policy, so you copy it onto your pen drive, and there's another member of staff who wants to work on that policy, and they copy it onto their pen drive, then you've got a third member of staff who accesses it directly from the server. You all make edits, and that document is now very out of sync. So somebody now needs to sit down and pull all those changes together. It's a really difficult way of working. The other problem, of course, is, well, students have got no way of accessing work at home. Well, it's very difficult to do. So if they do an outstanding piece of work in school and they want to show their parents or guardians, it just can't be done at the moment. Because I would imagine you don't allow children to use pen drives in your school because of security problems. The other issue is there's no easy way of sharing data between different devices. Okay, we know it can be done, but there's no real easy way of doing it. So if you're using, say, PCs running Windows and Microsoft Word, for example, and you're using an iPad, or you might be using Apple Macs, getting everything to talk to each other and being able to share information and work between all those different devices is not the easiest thing to do in the world. So what's the solution? Solution is to go into the cloud. And we're talking about G Suite for Education, and it's a different way of working. The main difference is that all work is now stored off-site in the cloud. So you no longer save work to your local server. You save all your work to your personal drive in the clouds. Big advantage is that G Suite for Education, you have unlimited storage. So it doesn't matter what you store up there, whether it's photographs, videos, backups, all your documents, all your files, everything you have, you've got unlimited space. So you're never going to run out of space up there. You can access your work from almost any device. So it doesn't matter what you work with at home. Could even be a mobile phone, but I wouldn't really recommend it. But we do know of children who've done homework on mobile phones. How they've done it, I don't know, but they seem quite happy. So you can access your work from almost any device. Students get email. So not only can they communicate with each other as well, but as teaching staff, you can communicate with them. You can email them lesson plannings or updates. You can access it from any browser or an app. I've used Google Apps for Education from a Raspberry Pi computer. No problems. It's a little bit slow, but it works. No problem at all. One thing Google does say, particularly on this section here, is that work is very easy to create and very hard to lose, and it's perfectly true. It's very, very difficult to lose any of your work once it's in the cloud. Children can work collaboratively. So if children are working on a project and they need to share that information or share that project to get a group of people working on the same thing, they can collaborate on that project very easily, again, from almost any device. Very easy to access your work at home. So no longer are children left who save work to the file server. It's left on the file server, they can't access it. They save into the cloud, they can go home and carry on using that work or show the parents or show the guardians. And very easy to access work at home on almost any device. It's access to Google Classroom, a great way of doing paperless homework. Very, very powerful tool. It's come a long way since it was first introduced a couple of years ago, and there's recently been some really good additions to it. And of course, there's a massive range of Google tools that you can use. Lots of add-ons, lots of bolt-ons to Google that you can use, and all those different apps as well. So it is a totally different way of working. Right, well, what does it all mean? What's it mean, for example, for your IT team? Because all schools have an IT team. We have big networks in schools, make no mistake about it. And I think most people don't actually realise what goes on in the background to make it possible that you can just sit down and log on from a computer and it just logs on and you get your desktop. I think most people don't realise the amount of work that goes in the background to make that possible. So what extra work does it mean for your IT team? How are they going to cope with this change? Well, to start off with, you'd be surprised to hear very little work indeed. They have no backup nightmares anymore. You don't have to back this system up. Everything you do, everything's saved in the cloud, and Google back it up for you across multiple servers. For all the years I've used Google, I've yet to lose any data or any information, and I don't back it up. The other great thing is there's no work as far as your IT team are concerned with extra hardware. Google supply everything you need in the cloud. You don't have to buy anything, so procurement costs are absolutely zero. So you don't have to buy any new hardware at all. You don't have to spend time updating it. Google will make sure that all the latest updates are on there with the latest versions, and it's one less job your IT team have to do. In fact, they don't have to touch any of the software at all. If any software is updated, Google will do it for you. If any new software is introduced, for example, the fantastic new Google Sites, which allow children to build some brilliantly looking websites very simply, that's automatic. It just arrives there once Google decides it's going to be released. And that release was mid-December. Now we're sitting down and starting to use it. It's virus and malware free. You can't get a virus from it. There's nothing to download. So you don't have to worry about viruses or malware on the system. Great advantage as well is that Google will sync across all devices. So it doesn't matter where you create that work, where you create that file, that document, that spreadsheet, that presentation, doesn't matter. It will sync across all devices, and it's very, very easy to install Google Apps onto an iPad or onto an Android tablet, even easier onto an Android tablet because it's built for Google. An iPad, you just need to add the required apps. Input your email address and your password, it's done. Immediately you've got access to all your files and folders that are saved in the cloud. Very easy to add to your school network. It just drops onto your school network and it just works. There's nothing for your IT team to do. It's a system which, to be honest with you, once it's set up and running, you can just leave. So what does it mean for your students? Just excuse me while I get myself a drink. Well, your students are probably going to face the biggest change. It's very easy for students to access their work. People can access Google Apps anytime, anywhere, and I think that's the biggest change they're going to see, is that they can actually start to access work at home. It doesn't matter what device, and it doesn't matter what time of the day, it's always on, it's always available. One of the big things we've done, or we're planning on doing over the next year probably, in some of the schools I work at, is going to get children to develop an online portfolio of work. New Google Sites will allow them to do that quite easily, and it'll not only that, it will make their portfolio look really good. Not only do they get an opportunity to start looking at website design, but they also get the opportunity to integrate that website into cloud services. So, and it sounds complicated, and I tell you, it's not that hard to do, but the knowledge in just doing that really brings children on in their understanding of the way cloud works and works in their life, and it ticks a massive IT box in school. Okay, as we've already said, parents and carers can easily view and comment on work. So the parents sit down with the children and they look through the work they'll be doing today or whatever homework they've got to do. Then parents can help the children along, and hopefully they'll progress even further. So it's a brilliant way for parents to interact with the children and also comment on their work as well if they need to ask the teacher anything. As we already mentioned, it's a greater understanding of how cloud computing fits into their life, and they do understand it, particularly from 5 and 6. They do get it. They do understand about cloud computing and the way it works and the way it can change the way they work. So quite from an early age, from year 5 and 6, they're already beginning to work in a very adult way without realising it. And again, that ticks a number of IT boxes. You've got access to a whole suite of cloud applications and add-ons. Google have now got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of add-ons that we can bolt onto Google Apps. Does a variety of different jobs, and it really brings Google Apps for Education to life. And we've got access to other cloud services from our Gmail account. Because children have got a Gmail account, they can now access other cloud services. I'm thinking of stuff like Canva, for example. If you've not seen Canva, you really need to go on, because it's a fantastic free graphic design suite available online. And to access it, all you need is a Gmail account. Everything, again, is stored in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about backups, you don't have to worry about saving your work. Fantastically brilliant site. And again, you just need a Gmail account to access it. And that goes along with lots of other sites now available on the internet, where you can sign in and just access it via a Gmail account. So what do children think of it? Well, to be honest with you, we're not so arrogant to say, well, I love it. As an IT person, I love it to bits. I don't have to back it up. I don't have to tinker and play around with the servers. I don't have to make sure there's loads of antivirus and malware protection on there, because I love it, so I'm all for it. But what do children think? Whilst we've been working with schools, we've taken the time to run a number of surveys. I probably will put the surveys on the YouTube video when this appears on YouTube, so you can take a look at the surveys for yourself. But they've been massively positive. Out of all the surveys we've done, and we've done quite a few with a number of schools, children love it. They love the way of working, they love the different way of working, and they enjoy accessing the work at home. So it does show that, and I will actually put the links onto the YouTube video when it appears on YouTube, so you can take a look. The other thing we did notice as well was this statement. This was from Dowson Primary School, and one of the boys said it gets boys writing. That's what the teachers were saying. And why does it do that? Because one of the boys said, because it's not writing if you're on a computer. I mean, kids have been using computers for years and been using stuff like Microsoft Office. The big difference with Google, we think, is the fact that they can now access that work at home, and they can access a collaborative work. One of the big things I've seen at all in primary school, and it shocked me at first, but in the end I've realised, well, that's the way children are going to work. And some of the after school clubs, students come into the computer suite and they'll sit down and they'll log on. And I found that nearly all the children coming in were logging onto their Google accounts. And a lot of the children there, particularly the girls, boys were doing this as well, were creating presentations that we were sharing with each other about all sorts of different subjects. I did actually see a fantastic presentation about Manchester United that 3 boys had put together. We didn't tell them to do those presentations. They sat down and did the presentations themselves. So the children were working on different slides about Man United. And I thought, I sat there and looked at what they were doing, and I thought, wow, that is what it's all about. That's how much these kids have moved on from sitting down and using something like Microsoft Office, where they have to sit in the school and use it, to being able to access the presentations at home on the cloud on any device. And they've sat down and they've started to work on presentations themselves. That's nothing to do with the school work. I'm really, really impressed with that. I think that really goes to show how much they think of Google Apps as well, and how much they like working with it. Okay, this brings us along to this subject, project-based learning. One of the things we really want to try out in one of the schools is project-based learning. We want to ask the big question. We want to ask the question, something like, how can I help reduce global warming? Massive question, a massive project to undertake. And to be honest with you, GAP's G Suite for Education allows, and it's got all the tools in there to allow this to happen. Students can work collaboratively, they can work on different documents, they can research on Google, they can start to do the notes on Google Keep, they can share those notes between each other, they can start to produce documents between different groups of people, they can start to talk about what end product they want. I mean, obviously, if I was going to do a project like this, particularly about global warming, I would want to do a website, and I want to pack that with lots of information that the children pull together in a collaborative way. But it doesn't have to be that. We could also produce posters. We could produce an advertising campaign. We could produce promotional videos telling parents, to avoid driving and do some more walking, help them reduce their carbon footprint. It's all possible on Google, because we can now collaboratively work as one group of people, as a team, Previously, that's very difficult to do with anything else. We couldn't do it with, for example, Microsoft Office. It just doesn't allow you to do that. But we can easily do that with Google Apps. Not a problem. And this is certainly something I'd really want to try with children at some point. Perhaps next year sometime. Excuse me, let's grab another drink. Right, so why is Leeds City College there? You are asking yourself. We went to a Google event in mid-November. I went and Suzanne Moore went from Dowson Primary. And Google were actually just showing off Google Expeditions, which has just been released. If you don't know what Expeditions is, fantastic, really fantastic learning tool for children, very exciting. And it really gets children engaged in all sorts of different things to do with almost any subject you can think. It's a virtual reality thing if you don't know what it is. But this was quite an interesting introduction. This guy here, this fella, he's actually the head of Leeds City College. And he sat down a while ago, well over a year, and they decided they needed to bring in some sort of cloud-based system. And he went for Google Apps for Education. Now, he will tell you all sorts of figures and all sorts of statistics of how well this has worked in the school. They are a massive user of Google Classroom. They've completely stopped photocopying any of their homework. Every single piece of work is now done on Google. They've realised that you don't actually need to log into a PC or log onto a server to be able to do productive work. They pushed aside stuff like Microsoft because it's too expensive, and they've gone for a free system. Massive user of Chromebooks. He will tell you, he told us where we were sitting now in this area, there's quite a few people in this area, was a library. He said we can turn any of our areas now into a teaching and learning area just by moving the desks out of the way or moving whatever else there, putting some desks out and putting some chairs out and bringing out the Chromebooks, and instantly you've got a teaching and learning area. He said it's revolutionised the way the college works, but in particular Google Classroom has. He said the uptake now of homework is massive. Very, very few people now fail to do their homework because it's available from anywhere at any time on any device. He said it's absolutely revolutionised the way that the school works. So he was very, very positive. We went to another showcase not so long ago in Wigan last year, and they was also sort of saying the same sort of thing. But I think the difference with this one is he sat down and gave us all the figures, all the facts and figures, not just on how well and how much it's improved the statistics of learning, but how much money they've saved in rolling out a cloud-based system as opposed to buying in servers, buying in laptops and buying in PCs. He said it saved them an absolute fortune, and at the same time it's moved the school up a massive scale. So how do you judge yourself? I've been working with Google Apps for a while now, and judging yourself is very, very difficult to do. One of the things we noticed is that we did a bit of networking. I just hate the term networking, but that's what we did. We went around and talked to different people. And while we were there, we were really surprised at how advanced we actually were as opposed to other people. Sue and I actually found ourselves at one point the centre of attention. People started to ask us questions about how we were using Google, how we managed to roll it out, how we managed to pull it into schools, how well we're doing with it. And we certainly found that there were quite a few people around listening to our answers and writing them down. And we realised that, if you take Leeds City College, massive user of Google, particularly Google Classroom, huge. And to be honest with you, after talking to other people who were there and comparing the way we work, we thought that our primary schools were easily second or third compared to other delegates who were at this event. We didn't talk to anybody who were as advanced as we were in using Google Apps, and we've been using it in primary, and we were talking to people who were thinking of rolling it out at college level. And we'd heard some horror stories of people who rolled out different cloud platforms at college level and really made major mistakes, and they were absolutely stunned at how successful we were at rolling it out. So it's an interesting event if it's just for that. But the one thing that really made us smile was this. We realised that we could easily take our children and drop them into Leeds City College, and they could use their Google platform straight away. No further training necessary. That's the thing that really made us smile. And we realised that just by sitting children down and getting them to use Google, and we're talking about getting them to use Google on a daily basis, the biggest problem that schools face is that they think Google's an IT lesson, and it's not an IT lesson. At Dowson Primary School, and certainly at Aldwyn Primary School, we're making Google Apps a resource, not an IT lesson. So it's first choice when children want to do any work. So it's a resource, not an IT lesson. Same as a pen, same as a book. It's first choice when they want to do any sort of work. And we realised by making it a resource rather than an IT lesson, we've given children a massive head start. They already understand about cloud computing. They already know how to access cloud computing, starting to produce work. They already understand about saving work to the cloud and accessing it from different devices. I understand about working collaboratively. They understand about teamwork and working with each other. All those skills obtained at primary school level, which they will now take onto high school, onto college and university. So we think we've really done them a favour. And we're very pleased about the fact that we realised that we were easily second or third compared to other delegates at that school, at that showcase at Leeds City College. And we realised that we could easily drop our children onto Leeds City College and use their Google Apps system. No training necessary. So, where does that leave us as far as anything else is concerned? Quite interestingly is this. Department of Education, they've now just produced a guideline for schools. Cloud computing. How schools can move services to the cloud. This is a very interesting read if you're a boring person like me. It is an interesting read, actually. It's 33 pages. It's quite an unbiased document. And quite interestingly, that it was first released on the 6th of July 2016 and it was updated on the 21st of October. It's about to be updated again early next year. Cloud services are moving forward so quickly. And the document actually says, in so many words, that schools should now seriously start looking at cloud computing, because the benefits far outweigh any disadvantages that you're going to meet. And not only that, it will be expected at some point in the future, and schools may possibly be marked on this, I assume by Ofsted, that they should be able to make school work available at home via a cloud service. So I think that's the reason why the Department of Education have started to produce these documents and updated them very quickly. It's an interesting read. I put the link underneath there if you want to hop on and read it. But it is quite an interesting document to read and really sort of lays out why schools should now be really seriously thinking about moving to some of the cloud services. Right, so we're nearly at the end of this Google Hangout, this screencast. And if you were at the showcase that we did at Dowson Primary School, the two that we did there, and you remember of quite a few people turned up, very interested, particularly Stockport schools were very interested, a few from Tameside and Trafford. So they were interested in what we were doing. At this point, I was about to close this presentation. We were about to walk into the IT suite for a live demonstration of Google Apps. And what Year 5 was going to be doing, we were going to be covering 5 apps in one lesson. We're going to be doing Classroom, Docs, Slide Sheets and Google Keep. Start the lesson, there's going to be a 5-minute recap on Google Classroom and sharing. All the lesson was going to be, was done on Google Classroom. And children are going to watch a video and start to make notes on Google Keep. Then we're going to share their notes and their work with a partner for peer assessment. And there's a demonstration on marking work via Google Classroom and comment remotely. Very successful demonstration, actually. And I've got to tell you now that a lot of the people who turned up and watched this demonstration were absolutely gobsmacked by the way the children were working seamlessly. They walked to a machine, logged on, logged into their Google accounts, ran up, looked at their email, got onto Classroom straight away and started working. Very, very few instructions for the teacher. But it was the fact that they had the skills to do all those different things, which we think most people there were gobsmacked with, were really amazed with, because it's something they probably can't do in their school. So that was the demonstration that was done on the day. And like I say, we did 2 showcases there. So that's it. That's the end of this cast. I can actually see I've got a tablet in front of me now, so I can see there's quite a few questions people have asked. So I'm going to close this cast down now. I'm going to thank everybody for... hopefully you can switch that back on. I'm going to thank everybody who watched this, and hopefully some people will get to view this on YouTube as well, because I'll edit this and put it on YouTube along with a number of links. Thank you for joining this, and I'll go off onto Hangouts now. I'm going to answer some of these questions and perhaps see you next time. Thank you.